Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds Gamer. I didn't think at the start of the season that I would be doing much content on clubs that are not Leeds United. But Tottenham Hotspur, you are the club that keeps on giving. You keep providing content for football content creators all over the world by these inept, dreadful performances. So it's got to be talked about. Now, the title of this video is a little bit over exaggerated and a bit extreme because clearly you can see that Tottenham are not in the relegation zone right now. However, they're sleepwalking into it. They're almost sleep jogging, sleep running into it. Right? The only reason Tottenham aren't in bottom three right now is because West Ham lost. But West Ham have had a win and 2 draws in the last 5. Tottenham have had 1 draw. Little bit of a difference. So, it's really tight at the bottom. So let's just get certain things out of the way. Wolves, despite their, remarkable improvement of form since Pereira left and Edwards came in, they still find themselves rooted to the bottom, but in a far healthier situation than what they were previously, where they barely gotten a bloody point. Now they were only 1 win away from overturning Burnley, and quite frankly, I think they probably will do it. I think by the end of the season, Wolves will probably finish in 19th, and I think Burnley will probably finish in 20th. There's still time for them to prove me wrong, but I don't see it right now. Wolves have got the form of 2 wins and 2 draws and only 1 loss in the last 5, which is not the form of a team in 20th. That is the form of a team at least mid-table. So, you got to look at that and think, it'll be, as things currently stand, it'll be Burnley bottom and it'll be Wolves 19th. So, that gets those 2 out of the way. Then on to West Ham. They'd improved their form in recent times. However, a damaging loss against Aston Villa, who, in fairness, are in the top 5. That's a difficult game to play against. But in the battle of in one of the possible multiple battles of claret and blue, it was the Vanilla side who came on top. So, Aston Villa, with the win, keeps West Ham United, or West Ham United. I've got names for a bunch of these teams in this division. Very immature of me, I apologise. Kind of, not kind of. It keeps West Ham rooted into the bottom 3 by a solitary point. Just 1 measly little point that separates them from the team that we're primarily talking about here. The Spuds. The nearest that Tottenham came to scoring a goal against Nottingham Forest was that they peeled the crossbar. Spuds, peeling, it's an appealing prospect. Anyway, enough of the dad jokes. Tottenham are in trouble. They're in big trouble. They have just been walloped 3-0. 3-0 by a team 1 place above them. And if I've got this right, they were 1 place below them. So they've literally overturned them with that result. So, while you've got Nottingham Forest, who have got 2 draws and a win in the last 5, and most importantly the last 3 being 2 draws and a win, you've got Leeds who are kind of drawing their way to survival, but Leeds currently, do have the most points out of anyone in that battle. You can forget everyone above Leeds right now. They're finished for the season. Once Palace get 1 more point, there's not really much point in any of those teams that obviously can't get into Europe either, there's no point in them playing any more matches. They're doomed to mid-table mediocrity. So, what this means is that it really is between Leeds, Nottingham, Tottenham and West Ham as to who finishes in 18th place. So, what is the problem at Tottenham? Well, there are a number of factors. The players. First and foremost, the players are not doing their jobs. Right? They're still getting paid anywhere between £100,000 and £300,000 a bloody week to play like a shower of shite. Wow. There should be performance bonuses but performance clauses in there that if you play really shite, that you get like a 50% wage cut for that, for that period. I bet that'd have kicked him up the bloody backside, wouldn't it? But again, players are never going to agree to those contracts. Agents are never going to get their players to agree to contracts with those kind of clauses in. But this is the problem. Because these teams, they're basically allowed to play like crap. Because they're still getting paid. They can still afford their mansions, their sports cars, whatever else they spend their money on. They can afford it. Of course they can. Because it doesn't matter how they're doing their job performance. If someone in a regular day-to-day job performed badly, they'd be sacked. Well, you can't sack a football player because they've signed a contract. Well, everybody signs a contract when they get employed. But employers have got the power to rip that contract up and it not basically end up being of any cost to the employer. So why should it be any cost to a football club when they put a contract together for a player and the club decides, you know what, we're going to rip that contract up because you're playing like crap and you're putting us in a position where we're going to lose anywhere between 200 and 400 million pounds by being relegated. There's a lot of ways you can look at this, and I'm not going to go into the boring aspects of it like that any more than I just have. But ultimately, you've got players who aren't playing as a team. You've got the change in management going from Thomas Frank, who was seemingly someone that was quite friendly amongst his squad, maybe too friendly, to someone like Tudor, who is known to be a disciplinarian in his managerial approach. The club probably needs someone that's somewhere in between, or someone that can do a little bit of both. Frank obviously couldn't be the disciplinarian when it was required, and Tudor distances himself from players even more than Marcelo Bielsa did. But at least Marcelo Bielsa, he knew how to treat his players, he knew how to motivate his players. And as we know, Marcelo took a bunch of championship players and over the course of a season made them better, and over the course of 2 seasons got them promoted. Now, Tudor, if you look at his playing history, played for good clubs, played for Juventus, played amongst some amazing football players that were at Juventus at the time. So Tudor's had the experience as a player. As a manager, I don't know whether... I haven't really looked into Tudor's managerial record. But ultimately, they've brought Tudor in. It hasn't worked. And, to top things off, Igor Tudor's just suffered a family bereavement. And let's face it, there's never a good time for that to happen to anybody. But, for Igor now, football's not on his mind, is it? It's his family. And rightfully so. I've got nothing against Igor Tudor, you're a good player for Juventus, and I like Juventus. So, I've got nothing against Tudor. Some of the Tottenham fans have got something against Tudor, though. They don't like him. But again, the players weren't playing with any discipline. You've got your back two of Romero and Van der Ven getting red cards, and they're your captain and vice captain. I mean, if all the younger players in the squad, like Gray and Bergval and Simons and Tell and I don't know, a handful of others, Kinski, you know, if they can't look up to those two guys, because those two guys are basically getting themselves sent off and showing a lack of discipline, it's clear that Tudor's been brought in to Tottenham to bring in some discipline. But they're not, you know, I mean, you could see in those early matches they weren't even listening to Tudor. I mean, who do these players think they are? They're absolute prima donnas. A lot of them. With literally one or two exceptions. I'm telling you now, Tottenham's best player, currently, that's been available to them for, let's say, at least the majority of 2026, is a guy that came through the Leeds United Youth Academy. Archie Gray, who is still only about 20-year-old. And he's got more maturity in his bloody hair curls than what Van der Ven and Romero have got put together. Am I wrong? Spurs fans, please let me know. Right? Because at the moment, from the little snippets that I've been seeing, there's only Archie Gray that's pulling his weight. And showing that little bit of maturity, that little bit of fight, that bit of determination that's required to stay afloat. Whereas the rest of these overpaid prima donnas couldn't give a bloody crap. They know that if they go down this season, they know that just like when Leeds went down, there's probably relegation release clauses somewhere along the lines here. Because if any of them that signed a new contract last year, after finishing 17th, I bet you there's been relegation release clauses put in those contracts, because some of those players will be thinking, right, we don't want another season like last season, but if it does happen, and if the bottom three aren't as crap as what the last couple of bottom threes have been, then there's a chance we might go down. Well, I want out. I'm not playing in the Championship. I am too good to play in the Championship. Right? I've seen it all at Leeds, and it's shite. Right? Let's get that out there. Right? So, where do you go from here if you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan? As I say, the problems don't just stem with the players. It stems with the fact that you've had these change of management. And literally chalk and cheese between Frank and Tudor. It goes from the fact that, alright, it weren't right popular, but Daniel Levy's left, and all of a sudden everything's gone to shit. I couldn't stand Daniel Levy. I thought he was a twit. Nasty piece of work. But from a financial point of view, look at what's happening now. The whole world around Tottenham Hotspur is crumbling, dissolving into a mush. It's literally like toxic acid has been poured all over Tottenham Hotspur, and by the end of this season they're going to look like a plate of mushy peas. It's going to look disgusting. It's going to smell disgusting. And you're going down. Right? That's how things look right now for Tottenham Hotspur. And with all of that money that they're going to lose by getting relegated, all of these players that are on contracts of... I mean, someone recently mentioned that Conor Gallagher, who they only got in January, is on £200,000 a week. Your club's going to be screwed. All of that revenue that you make per game, you make around £3 to £4 million a game. You ain't going to be making that in Champo. Oh no, you're not. You're just not. And you're not going to fill that stadium going against Championship teams. You've got Lincoln, who are top of League One and look very much like they're going to go up. Right, I've had a look. Right, and the Lincoln City fans are chanting in their home games, "We're playing Spurs next season. Playing Spurs next season. We're playing Spurs next season." They're singing stuff like that. Lincoln City against Tottenham Hotspur. That's a match that in the past would have only happened in a cup. Well, I'm telling you now, it's going to happen in bloody league next season, and it's not going to happen in top league, it's not going to happen in League One, it's going to happen in Championship. The ownership doesn't have a bloody clue about this football club. You've got every Tottenham Hotspur pundit out there, whether it be a former professional or ex-player or ex-manager, down to people like Abby Summers, who is literally just a fan, that has a job on stuff like TalkSport. And, you know, they are all against the current ownership. So it's clear that the ownership doesn't have a bloody clue. And again, I can relate to this. Leeds have had ownerships that haven't had a bloody clue. Currently, Leeds have got the best ownership that they've had in years. And it's showing. This is why Leeds haven't touched that bottom three for some time now. And I hope we don't for the rest of the season, obviously. So everything from the very top to the very bottom at Tottenham Hotspur is a problem. Right? Their medical department. The number of players they've had injured all season. Or part of the season. Some players that might have actually been good enough to possibly propel Tottenham up a few places. I'm telling you, they're going down. They are going down. I think that West Ham will still find something. I mean, West Ham play Wolves next. I could see that being either... Well, I could see that being... I could literally see that match going like any of three ways, and it wouldn't be unrealistic to say otherwise. Could be a win to Wolves, a win to West Ham, or it could be a draw. Literally because both teams are in decent form right now. You know, despite that loss that West Ham's just had against Aston Villa. You know, both of those teams are playing a lot better. Tottenham, despite showing signs in the first half of that match against Nottingham Forest, encouraging signs, Jamie O'Hara. Or Jason Gundy for that matter. Encouraging signs. But yeah, you know, like I genuinely actually thought that Tottenham looked the better team in the first half, but second half it was all Forest. Absolutely all Forest. And that killed it. That goal just before half time to make Forest 1-0 up. That ruined it, ripped up Igor Tudor's half-time team talk. You know, and this is the reality. This is the reality of the situation for Tottenham Hotspur. You know, I genuinely think they're going down. They haven't double-figured draws. They haven't double-figured wins. It's 15 losses. Alright, they've scored 40 goals, which is very solid. But they've conceded 50. Minus 10. You know, they've conceded more than Forest. They've conceded more than Leeds. The defence is a shambles, and yet you've got two very highly rated primary centre-backs. Your goalkeeper's rubbish, and that's a big part of it. I'm telling you now, folks, it's not good reading for Tottenham Hotspur, and I believe they will be relegated. So I'm going to leave it there, folks. What do you think? Are Tottenham Hotspur going down this season? Please let me know in the comments below. Do please hit the notification bell. Do please like and hype the video. Do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really appreciate all the support. Have a good one, folks. See you in the next one. Bye for now.